They built an all-white town in modern-day South Africa, and yes, it's real. No, it's not a joke. And the most shocking part? It's growing. After apartheid officially ended in 1994, South Africa was supposed to become a new nation, one united by equality, freedom, and reconciliation. But that didn't happen for everyone. The promise of a rainbow nation sounded good on paper, but the reality? It was a lot more complicated. While most of the country struggled to rebuild from decades of racial segregation and inequality, a small group of Afrikaners, white South Africans who speak Afrikaans, felt like they were being pushed out of their own country. Jobs were becoming harder to get, crime was rising in major cities, and affirmative action policies were slowly shifting power dynamics. Some felt like strangers in the land their ancestors had once ruled. So instead of trying to adapt, they created their own town, a whites-only town, a place to preserve Afrikaner culture and identity. That place became Orania. But here's the thing, how does a town like that even exist in a democratic modern country like South Africa? Isn't that illegal, racist, or maybe, just maybe, more complex than it looks from the outside? Let's dig in. Located in the scorching heat of the Karoo Desert, Orania looks like any small, quiet town. It has neat streets, well-maintained houses, a library, a school, shops, even a guest lodge. But the moment you enter the town, it becomes clear this place isn't like anywhere else in South Africa. There's even a statue of Hendrik Verwoerd, the so-called architect of apartheid, right in the town. For many South Africans, Verwoerd represents everything that was wrong with the old system. But here, he's a symbol of pride. And yet, somehow, this town isn't illegal, not under South Africa's post-apartheid constitution. How? Let's rewind a bit. Chapter 2. The Origins of Orania. The story starts in 1991, just 3 years before apartheid officially ended. A group of Afrikaner intellectuals and businessmen, led by Karel Boshoff, who, by the way, was Hendrik Verwoerd's son-in-law, bought an abandoned construction camp near the Orange River. The plan? To build a Volksstaat. When they bought the land, it was basically empty. Just some buildings and dry desert. But over the next 3 decades, they turned it into a functioning town. From just a few dozen people in the 90s, Orania now has over 2,000 residents, and the number keeps rising. But wait, how does a whites-only town work legally in a country where racial segregation is banned? Chapter 3, the legal loophole. Here's where it gets interesting. South Africa's constitution protects the rights of cultural and linguistic groups to form their own communities, as long as they don't break other laws. That means you can build a town for a specific culture, as long as no one's being physically forced out or discriminated against by law. Now, Orania doesn't legally ban anyone from entering. You can visit the town, you can buy food at the cafe, but if you want to live there, you have to go through a selection process run by the community itself. And guess what? If you're not Afrikaner, you're not getting in. There's no written racial ban, but the unspoken rule is crystal clear. In other words, it's exclusion by design, not by law. And that legal gray area is what's kept Orania alive all these years. Chapter 4. Life inside Orania. Let's talk about what daily life is like in this town. There's a heavy emphasis on self-reliance. Orania prints its own currency, the Ora. It's not a real national currency, but it works in local shops. They have their own bank, their own farming systems, even their own local government. And guess what else? No one here hires black domestic workers or laborers. All the cleaning, construction, and farming is done by the residents themselves. That's intentional. It's their way of saying, we don't rely on anyone else. Kids here go to Afrikaans language schools. Everyone speaks Afrikaans. Local radio stations, books, newspapers, everything is in the language. It's like a cultural bubble. And from the inside, a lot of residents describe life as peaceful, safe, and stable. Crime is virtually zero. Streets are clean. People help each other. There's a sense of community that's hard to find in many big cities. Chapter 5. The Critics and the Defenders. To many people, especially black South Africans, Orania is a slap in the face. It's seen as a relic of apartheid, a place where people are trying to run from the reality of a diverse modern country. Critics say it's racist, they say it's cowardly. They say it's the exact opposite of what South Africa should be. But defenders of Orania argue back. They say this isn't about racism, it's about culture. They say they're not attacking anyone, they're just preserving their way of life. And interestingly, some political leaders, even black leaders, have defended their right to exist. Julius Malema, leader of the far-left EFF party, once said, "Let them have their Orania, we will have our own land too." That's the paradox. Orania exists because of the same constitutional freedoms that protect all South Africans. But is it really that simple? Chapter 6. A growing population and a bigger question. Here's the part that gets really surprising. Orania is growing. More and more Afrikaner families are moving in, young couples, retired grandparents. Even businesses are starting to open offices there. They've got solar energy projects, new housing developments, even digital nomads working remotely. Chapter 7. Can a town like this really survive? Here's where the tension really spikes. Orania isn't just surviving, it's thriving on its own terms. They've launched ambitious sustainability projects including solar energy farms, local manufacturing, and even agricultural innovations in the middle of the Karoo Desert. And they're attracting investment, not from the state, but from within their own network. They've even made diplomatic overtures, meeting with South African presidents and lobbying for recognition of their right to cultural self-determination. And it's working, at least for now. Because Orania isn't alone. Across the globe we're seeing new walls go up, ethnic enclaves, cultural separatism, nationalist movements. From the US to Europe to Asia, people are asking, can we still live together? Or should we just split up? Orania may look like a small town, but it's a symbol of something far bigger, a global question we haven't answered yet. So what is Orania, really? Is it a racist holdout from apartheid, dressed up in the language of cultural preservation? Is it a bold experiment in self-reliance, proving that you can build a peaceful community if you reject state dependency? Or is it a warning sign, showing what happens when people give up on the dream of unity? If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.